Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today's just going to be a quick doing touch-up work on the bike. I'm going to be installing the new mirrors that I got. I figured things out with the seat, so I'll be working on that. As well as I got a new lever for the clutch and a new grip for this side. I already got this piece off just because I need to add a zip tie that I took off previously from the wire right there. The grip for this side I'm still waiting for, and the lever for this side I'm still waiting for to come in. But since the clutch was giving me issues, so basically the clutch seems to be constantly, since it's a aftermarket lever and a lot of people have actually had the same concerns, it seems to always be slight tension on the clutch, so it causes the clutch to slip. So I'm just going to go back to aftermarket parts, and so that I can continue riding the bike, I'm going to replace the clutch lever and keep the brake lever for now until the new brake lever comes in. But I'm going back to OEM for all that. Again, mirrors and the pin that goes in for the steering stopper came in as well, so we'll be working on that. So I figured everything out with the seat. I ended up buying a aftermarket seat on eBay, paid 50 bucks for the seat and everything I need to make everything fit. Basically, the only reason I bought this thing was for this one bracket. I won't be using this seat or any of the stuff other than this bracket. This bracket costs about, I think it was like 10 bucks from the dealership, but I'd have to wait about like 6 months before I can get that to come in from Italy. So I just paid 50 bucks for the brackets and an aftermarket seat. That way I just have a spare seat in case anything ever happens and I need a new seat. But I'm able to make the seat that I have work. Also wanted to mention, this is the aftermarket seat, and if the stock seat is anything as hard as this one is, I am very glad that I got this seat, because this seat feels so much better than the aftermarket one. Anyways, this bracket here just bolts on like that. And the aftermarket seat that I ordered comes with all the rubber pieces that you may need, as well as the 2 bolts that you need to bolt the bracket on. So with the bracket on, usually this rubber grommet is on the bracket like this, but you need to take it off. This piece that comes with the cowl, you put on right here, and then I'll need 2 hands for this, but take the little screw in the washer and screw it on, and then you should be able to put the grommet back on. And I believe it should look something like that. And when you flip it over, it holds on like that, and you can just install the seat. And I'm going to need 2 hands for this as well. So correction, first you're going to need to take this piece off, which you use a key at the bottom. Take that off. Install this. And then again, for this piece, I do need to use 2 hands. Okay, I got the cowl back on, and so this is what it looks like. No gaps, nothing. At first I thought that this was too big of a gap, and I thought maybe it was because of this comfort seat, but apparently that's the way it's supposed to be. There's a small gap right there, but that's what it looks like. And now we have it on, and the seat, I mean, you can feel that it's on firmly. So yeah.
And while I struggle to get this grip off, I wanted to share a quick Bible verse. In Hebrews chapter 13, verse 16, it says, "But do not forget to do good and to share, for with such sacrifices God is well pleased."
So while I have all this stuff off, it'll make it easier to remove the bolt that needs to come out right here to replace the lever. So this is the Evotech lever, right? And this is what the OEM one looks like. It's actually a little bit longer as well. So one thing I just noticed is that this piece is missing either a nut or something on it. I'm guessing whoever the previous person who installed the piece didn't install it. So I'm gonna have to figure out something with that. Another thing you want to make sure you do is this little spacer right here. Make sure you take it off of your old levers and put them onto the new ones. So now I have the lever back on, and I adjusted the tension a little so that it has roughly about this much slack before you start feeling the pressure. And I believe that should be enough. It might be a little too much slack, but if anything, I'll readjust it later. Just by doing that, and you can actually, that might be better. So I'll probably just leave it at this much slack for now and then adjust it as needed. But this is much better slack than what the aftermarket ones had, even fully screwed in. So should be good with that now. And then on this piece, I put a zip tie to hold the little washer on for now until I find out which nut I need exactly to fit in there. Another thing I realized is that my controls after the accident weren't sitting straight. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the controllers are supposed to be like this. I've had them like this, so putting them back into the correct space, and it seems like the buttons work a lot better now. And this is a new grip that we have, and then just slides on. I also did a slight touch up on the grip, on the handlebar, so that the spot where it was scratched, it won't rust or anything. And so now I need to replace these mirrors because this mirror is busted, and I'm not really the biggest fan of the style. The visibility kind of sucks on them. So the ones I got are these bar end mirrors, which are going to be temporary ones. I bought these off Amazon because I've never had bar end mirrors, and the ones I wanted are the CRG arrows and the Moto Gadget Blade mirrors. They're all bar end mirrors. But those would have came out to cost, I'm going to try to put a picture here of what they look like. Those would have came out to cost roughly around like $300 because they need new bar ends as well and mirrors. So I decided to go with these Amazon ones that I paid like $30 for. They're this similar style, just for me to test them out, see if I like the style. And then if I do, I'll invest in the more expensive, better mirrors. So on these mirrors, it comes with the bolt and the bar ends. And then this piece is rubber, which should just go into the handlebar. Okay, so an issue with this piece doesn't fit into the bar end hole. It's too big. Both the nuts too big, and so is the rubber piece. So what I ended up deciding to do is, this is the original bar end, and this is the piece that bolts into the handlebar. I'm gonna leave that piece on. I'm gonna take the bolt out of this one. And then from the new mirror, I took the bolt and the rubber piece out, and then you just have the bar ends here and the handlebar clipped onto the bar end. I'm just gonna bolt it on here, well, facing the correct way. I'm gonna bolt it on here like that, so it'll go on using the original bolt into this end piece. And I think I want the mirrors underneath. That's what I want to test out first, because I think that looks better than having them like facing upward. So when it's bolted in, it does leave this gap, which I don't really like. I think I'm gonna paint that bolt black. So I did end up switching it and going from the top, because while adjusting it, I realized that when I sit on my bike, if I have it under here, there wasn't much way I could set it up so that it doesn't, like my arm doesn't block the view of the mirror. And the mirror is small as it is, so I ended up deciding to go with it being from top. Now the only thing I've left is the bolt hole where the original mirrors went. I don't want it to rust or anything, so you can actually buy these on AF1 as well, but I have bought these at a store a long time ago. Any kind of clips like this, you just put it in there and that'll keep any water from getting in. Another thing I wanted to mention, I was a little bit worried about the clearance for the clutch lever, but it is just barely missing. So I think if I didn't have that bolt and I just used the rubber piece that goes inside, this would have been a lot closer. So the clutch lever would have been hitting the mirror. So it's a good thing I kept that bolt on. So I do like the way they look. I have them on right now. I'm going to go take them for a ride, see how they perform. For $30 mirrors, I mean, they're built pretty decently. I was expecting a lot worse from Amazon for $30, but yeah.
Thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video. God bless.